Hello, Silazins. We're calling an emergency council meeting in the midst to discuss how you are all feeling about the season so far. Welcome to the first Will Shift Dust podcast mailbag for Silo Season 3. Today discussing thoughts and feelings shared about the first 2 episodes of the season. And this is, of course, separate from our deep dive episode breakdowns, which you will also find in this feed. I recommend giving them a listen first, as we're sure to be referring to discussions we have had there as we work through what everyone else has to say. So my name, for any newbies, is Elysia, and I'm representing the book readers. And I'm here, as always, with Luke, our resident show-only fan. Luke, hit him with our official spoiler policy.
Okay, so we are allowed to talk about anything that's happened in Season 1 and 2, and we're also allowed to speak about anything that's happened up to Season 3, Episode 2. Alicia's also able to talk about anything that has happened in the books in Season 1, 2, and up to Episode 2 of Season 3 that we've seen on screen, but she can't talk past that point. And that also includes stuff that was mentioned in the trailers for Season 3, but we haven't got to that yet. So we can't talk about anything we haven't already got to.
Right. Yeah, basically, if it hasn't been in an official episode, we will not be bringing it up in this episode. But if you're looking for the full spoiler discussions with all the book details, stay tuned until the end, where I'll tell you more about the book club. And just a heads up, we do have screeners, which is how we can get these episodes out as the embargo lifts, which is midnight Pacific time on episode day. But we are not watching ahead of the episode that we are currently recording at any given time, except full disclosure, we've both seen episode 3. We will not be talking about that today, but we're preparing for this week's episode, of course. Yeah.
Because we have screeners, because we are, of course, a very big deal.
I just crawled up inside myself now.
I love doing that to Elysia.
And just for anyone who hasn't read the books, don't worry. Like the show, I always say, plays fast and loose with the book plot. So lots of new characters, different characters live and die. So when I speculate, it's all genuine. I often really don't know where something's going, and I will keep my mouth shut if I do. All right. Should we get into some of this feedback?
Yeah, let's, because we've got quite a lot.
Now opening the listener feedback channel.
So this first one is just a YouTube comment that I got that it just made. I just wanted to throw it out there to see how people feel about it. If you have strong feelings either way, write in. But JD Swanger 7943 wrote, "Is it mandatory to always add the actor's name to the character's name?" And so this refers to in the breakdowns, the first time I say a character's name, I always follow it with the name of the actor playing that character. I do that in part because I have heard in the past that a lot of people like it, but if more people find it annoying, let me know, and I'll give it a think.
Yeah. So just tell us what to do, and we'll go along with the majority decision. I didn't realize we had a YouTube.
As long as we agree, yeah.
As long as we agree. Yeah, I didn't realize.
Yeah, it publishes to my YouTube automatically.
Oh, okay.
And I noticed actually, like, I need to spend more time. Obviously, I'm sorry we don't do video. That might be something for in the future, but it's just a whole other thing. But and I don't properly tend to my YouTube channel, and I realized for some reason it's publishing the episodes twice. So I'm like, okay, I gotta look at that.
Okay.
I think I know why, actually.
Yeah, can we please not do video? Because then I'd have to think about how I looked when I'm recording.
I know. That's awesome. It's just a whole other thing with editing too. It's just a whole nother layer of, I'm doing all the production, so it's already a lot with just the audio side. But I do think about like experimenting with short videos, like taking a clip from our thing and doing, explainers with it, footage, whatever. I don't know. Anyway, I'll think about it.
It would be cool, but where are we going to find the time, people? Yeah. Where are we going to find the time?
If more people want to join the book club, then that would literally buy me more time.
Yeah.
All right. Now, via email, we heard from. So before we get into the episode itself, we do have a couple comments on the breakdown of the of the opening, the new opening for season 3. And so one was an email from Daisy77 that said, "Hi there, Elysia and Luke. Love your in-depth analysis of this great show. Thank you, Daisy. Just wanted to pop in to say that the dropping fruit in the opening credits of the show is a shriveled peach." Not an apple, not a pumpkin. No, I admit it immediately. It's not a pumpkin. uh, and yeah, she says, for sure, this makes sense if we are venturing into the demise of the Silas system. And I'll say, yeah, the whole decay thing, like the change in the intro is mostly geared toward showing decay. So that makes sense. I think we were just thrown by the stem. Luke, I put an image in there. What do you think?
Yeah, now that I would have said apple, but now Daisy's mentioned it. Yes, it does look more like a peach. I think the other reason we were thinking of apple was the funeral scene with Mayor Johns in season 1, where they do the whole thing of biting an apple and throwing it in the grave as well.
So for that, I mean, that's not what I was thinking of, but because for that, they do a bunch of different fruit. And actually in the book, it's a tomato that Juliet bites and throws in. I'm like, okay, better an apple.
Okay. Yeah, it's got a more satisfying crunch.
Yeah, I love tomatoes, but just biting into one raw to me is just like that.
Yeah.
Although I guess if you have like a cherry tomato, it's basically that.
Yeah, I suppose it is.
But yeah, I think, for me, it was the stem that was throwing me because so this rotting, decaying fruit is replacing a ripe peach that was falling from a green leafy tree in the original version of the opening. And that one did not have a stem. So that's why.
Okay.
But I did a little Google. I'm like, yeah. Peach stems do look like that. So good call, Daisy. Thank you. And we also heard about the intro from Jenny on Discord. So happy to be here discussing the show with you all. I'm listening to the pod, and Elysia mentioned the changes to the intro, one of them being the addition of a light bulb. A line that really caught my attention watching the episode last night was when the new supply shadow, can't remember her name, it was Orla, mentioned something about critical supply, things stored by founders like light bulbs. I don't remember any mention of supplies stored by the founders in the previous seasons, and that got me thinking they must have an idea how long everyone will need to stay underground if they were able to stock enough critical supply. Couldn't some do math about the rate of change for the number of light bulbs over time? Because changing light bulb joke, I get it, Jenny. And what happens when they run out of critical supply? So many fun questions to ponder. And I'm going to zip my lips on this, but I'm very curious what you think, Luke.
Yeah, no, that is a very interesting question, Jenny. Very. That is up in my own level of tinfoil hattedness. Yeah, like, how do they know how many light bulbs to put down there? How do they know how long the people are going to be in the silos? And like, we've seen that the silo does have quite substantial manufacturing capacity. Mm-hmm. But yeah, presumably there will be some stuff. I'm thinking particularly for the computer systems.
Yeah, because there's that rule you can't magnify things.
Yeah, that would be extremely hard, if not impossible, to make. So yeah, really good call, Jenny. I'm not sure light bulbs would fit into that category necessarily. Although I am sort of now waiting to meet the head of like glass production.
Yeah, I'm sure they could probably make glass, right? All you mostly need like sand for that, right? We need a geologist to weigh in on the soil, but I guess I'm still not supposed to say where I think this is.
It's basically sand, potash, and a lot of heat.
Okay,
basically.
I think they can do that.
Yeah.
But what's in the filaments? I'm not really sure about that.
That's a really good point, Jenny. I am officially inducting you into the Order of the Tinfoil Hat on that basis.
It's a great honor. I think that's the first official
Yeah, that's
inductee.
the first inductee in the Order of the Tinfoil Hat.
Oh, well, you'll have to give me your meeting minutes. So All right. So let's duck into the first episode. So I have the yeah, we'll talk first through the things that people sent in after episode 1, and then we'll talk about after episode 2. Tony C sent in an email after episode 1. Hi, Elysia and Luke. Great to have you both back. I'm afraid to read any comments in case of spoilers. I really enjoyed episode 1. I think my tinfoil hat is the same brand as Luke's, which is different to what it was last season. I'm leaning toward aliens now. On another note, it's kind of sad to see the powerhouse Juliet was in her current state. She's not herself, as we say in Ireland. I hope she snaps out of it. Great acting from Rebecca Ferguson, though. Another question I have is why Georgia? Really looking forward to the rest of the season and the podcast. So, Luke, you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still thinking aliens based on episodes 1 and 2. Not sure what type of aliens. Because as we've already seen in Beacon 23, another show that me and Elysia did, inspired by Hugh Howey novels, Hugh Howey can get very creative when he's talking about aliens, what they are and how they work. So yeah, I'm still leaning towards aliens, but probably not of the 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head variety. It is great acting by Rebecca Ferguson, and what I really like about it is, in spite of the fact she's got no memory of who she is or who anybody else is, Juliet is still recognisably Juliet. Like, in the way she walks, the way she talks, the way she looks at the world.
The way she insults someone's tattoo.
Yeah, the way she insults someone's someone she's just met, by the way.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts about what the Georgia connection is?
No, I was going to leave that to you, because I mean, lots of stuff gets filmed in Georgia, right, as I understand it.
Yeah, that's true, but I'll say the Georgia thing comes from the books, but I think, like, as far as why Georgia, just say because 4 of the new characters that we've met are from Georgia. And yeah, that is also the case in the book, that they're from Georgia. I'm not sure if there was a reason that Hugh Howey specifically chose that location, to be frank.
Well, also, if one of my tinfoil hat theories is right, the why Georgia question doesn't matter, because there's thousands of silos everywhere, basically. So these are just the ones we happen to see.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Checking in with Daniel Keene, Georgia 15, because that's the district that Daniel represents, from Reddit. I tend to view the characters as shades of gray. There isn't necessarily just good or bad, but more human in their portrayals. Camille is a good person who wants to do the right thing. We saw compassion when she let Juliet and the others go when she could have turned them in. What influences their decisions is the information they're provided, which we've seen is manipulated for whatever agenda. As a book reader, I'm being very careful here, so forgive any generalizations. Information control is a theme author Howey and show creator Yost play with and focus on. We're essentially watching a microcosm of our present world, with technology influencing information and how information is used as a form of control. Is that control genuinely intended to help or harm the silo/world? How does the information they're given influence and inform character motivations? Thoughts on that opening before we continue?
Yeah, I agree, and I think our little invention of the Sims-Nard scale, from goodest goody to baddest baddie, is a good one, because everybody in this show is to some extent shades of grey. They are fully rounded characters. I do slightly disagree about Camille, because whilst I think she probably is trying to do the right thing from her point of view, I also think she's naturally drawn to power. She wants to be in charge, or she wants to be around the people who are in charge. And I think we'll probably pick up on this when we do our episode 3 show. The dynamic between Camille and Robert this season is really interesting. So I sort of agree with that up until a point, but I do think Camille is someone who's naturally drawn to power and is prepared to do fairly underhanded things to get it.
Okay. Daniel Keene does actually continue by elaborating on their Camille stance. So They say Camille is working with the algorithm, quote unquote, who wants to save the silo. For Camille, their goals are aligned, and she's apparently doing what the algorithm is telling her to save her family and 10,000 people. We know she was told to double the drugs for Juliet. What else was she was told? We don't know. She was probably told that Bernard is a threat and that Juliet is necessary for the survival of the silo, but must be handled, quote unquote, as what she knows could either save them or break them. And I'll say again, this was after episode 1. We did get a bit more clarification in that in episode 2. They continue, in the end, I believe Camille is a generally good person trying her hardest in extreme circumstances. I never found her problematic, as I've read from a few on this sub. She's an incredibly intelligent person who seems to want to ensure people are safe and survive, especially as her son is part of the silo. We don't know what may truly be going on if there's more to the story than already shown, as we're not privy to the conversations between Camille and the algorithm. Again, we got a bit more in episode 2. In the end, I don't believe she has malicious intent. She's working with whatever information is given her. Now, whether this is the right way to move forward is a bigger question in the story, which I can't get into as it's beyond the scope of what viewers have been shown. It certainly poses the dilemma of information control and whether full transparency or controlled disclosure is beneficial. That's philosophical and requires a few drinks, LOL. TLDR. Personally, I'm for full transparency, yet that also depends on the circumstances. In this case, if people are told the full truth, it may break them and lead to a rebellion, as we're told has happened. It might be tantamount to everyone finding out extraterrestrial life exists and we've already made contact. Would the world disintegrate? And this, by the way, this part, for anyone who doesn't know, is referring to the new Steven Spielberg movie, Disclosure Day. Would the world disintegrate, or would humanity accept the information and order and peace hold? That's a dilemma that involves so many variables. In the end, the safety and security of everyone is the ultimate goal, and sometimes information needs to be handled to ensure it, as human nature is a tricky thing. Then again, it shouldn't be up to any one person or group to make such decisions. An authoritarian regime, and those never end well. It depends on your view of humanity. If you have faith in the quote unquote good of people, you would trust them to make the right decisions and fully inform them. It becomes subjective. Is it obvious I'm a psychologist? LOL, sorry for the long reply. All right, Luke, thoughts?
I mean, yeah, certainly the founders, the people that wrote the pact and the order had specific purpose in mind, and that goes back to what was being said, that people won't be able to handle the truth of the situation they're in. So better to come up with a comforting lie than an impossible to handle truth. And I think we're sort of seeing this with the Patrick Kennedy group, because their sort of pursuit of truth may well end up getting them killed, because they're barking up completely the wrong tree, or at least it looks from our point of view like they're barking up the wrong tree. Yeah, I think the whole sort of, I think it's right to say that one of the premises of Silo is, what information can you trust? Who gets to control that information? How is that information produced and reproduced? And I don't doubt that Bernard and now Camille think they're doing the right things. But like I say, and this is true for Bernard as it is for Camille, I think they're both drawn to power. They both like the fact that they know more than everybody else around them. I think they derive some kind of satisfaction from that fact. I don't think it makes them bad people. I do think it makes them easier for the algorithm to exploit.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'll say that there's a reason why. I was just thinking that, so we have a response from a psychologist here. I'll say a little tease in advance. We're going to kick off the episode 2 conversation with a voicemail from Nicole from Nevermind the Music, who is a professor of psychology.
Sorry. Do you mean episode 3?
No, I mean this feedback episode.
Okay.
In this episode.
Sorry.
But yeah, so and I've said before that I have a background in psychology, although I went to grad school and then I took a left turn and got into writing instead. But I think there's a reason why this story in either book and or TV form draws people who are interested in psychology, because it does really dig down deeply into that. And if you find that interesting, then you're going to find this interesting. And when I see some people who are like, oh, it's boring, I'm like, well, you're not into like the psychology of it and the politics. And that's the commentary on human nature and the cyclical cycles we go through. And that's kind of, this isn't something with, I don't want to say things that it's not, because I don't want to poo on tinfoil hat corner, but like, it's not like, this is not going to be, I don't know, like Terminator or whatever.
I think it's fair to say I hadn't completely eliminated robots from the future, but I have now.
I'm not saying there's no robots. I'm just saying the T-1000, I feel comfortable saying, and I hope everyone's cool with me saying, the T-1000 does not show up.
Oh, done.
So I think what I really like about sci-fi is when, or fantasy, it's like the same, I've been gushing about the Vampire Lestat, and yes, it's like a fun show about vampires, very heartbreaking too, but at the end of the day, both of them are using slightly fantastical platforms to just explore humanity and sociology. Humanity in an individual and collective sense.
Yeah.
So I would say the one thing that Daniel Keene, GA15, said that I would push back on slightly is, if you have faith in the good of people, you would trust them to make the right decisions and fully inform them. And I think that I would just make a separation between the goodness of people, and I think that people can have good intentions and still make decisions that are not for the greater good. I'm going to ask someone from Britain if you have any opinions about that.
Brings me back to one of my favourite quotes ever from Tommy Lee Jones in Men in Black. A person is smart. People are dumb, panicking animals.
Yeah, that's fair. But I just think that, like, and it is, I always have these discussions, I bring up all the time that, when I went to school, I studied psychology and economics at the same time. And the economics classes were driving me crazy. Granted, this is 20 years ago, but they just, I was like, yes, that is objectively perhaps how people should behave, but it's not what people actually do. And I don't think, I think that people make the wrong decisions for the right reasons a lot of the time. And I think that that's what the Camille character, who is like the center of this feedback, is particularly perhaps emblematic of, or Bernard before her, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Let's take a quick break here. And when we come back, we're going to continue with some more episode 1 feedback before getting into episode 2. We're back.
Evening. Buyer's remorse. Buy a new car? I'll be moving in. Let's get started.
Sorry, I think there's been a mistake. I bought it from Carvana.
You what?
Yeah, great price. I even have 7 days to love it or return it.
So there's no...
No buyer's remorse. More like buyer's rejoice.
I guess I'll let myself out. Congratulations. I mean it.
Buyer's rejoice. Buy your car today on Carvana.
Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
Okay, so also on Reddit, Extravagant Comment says, non-book reader here. For me, the biggest unanswered questions are, what is the purpose of the silos? When people go out to clean, what is it that actually kills them? What did Lucas tell Bernard that was so distressing it caused him to go out? What is the algorithm and what is its purpose? Overall, getting a bigger picture of what the world is like outside in Georgia and worldwide. And my other sources of hype are cannot wait for that annoying character Common and Camille to get what's coming to them. So they continue to be controversial characters. Thoughts?
Okay, I'm gonna like speed run the answers to this. What is the purpose of the silo? To hide from the aliens.
Okay.
What when people go out to clean, what is it that actually kills them? It's the fact the aliens are terraforming Earth's atmosphere.
Okay.
What did Lucas tell Bernard that was so distressing and caused him to go out? That there are aliens and that they're interacting with the algorithm and that they ultimately control the algorithm.
Okay.
What is the algorithm and what is its purpose? It's a piece of software designed by the humans that went into the silo in the first place. So the founders, and its job is to keep people in the silo.
Okay.
And what is the world like outside in Georgia and the rest of the world? It's being terraformed.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I can't say more than that. Do you have okay, what if it weren't aliens? What else would your theories be?
Some sort of environmental disaster. Like I say, possibly nuclear war, but I hope not, because I think that would be kind of lame. But I am very much leaning to, given the what the fuck cloud, I am leaning very much towards aliens at the moment.
Okay. And for anyone who doesn't know, didn't hear our previous episodes, the what the fuck cloud is the thing that Charlie flew into.
Yeah.
All right. This texting guy says on Reddit, and this is a response to the above, and I've slightly edited this one for book spoilers. My personal theories, the purpose was to save humanity. It's an AI amalgamation of several people. Some people have noted the primary voice sounds like Daniel Keene, while some others have said one of the other voices sounds like Senator Thurman. Sims. Let's not confuse actors with their roles. Honestly, Common has been fantastic bringing Sims to life, and I don't think they're evil or wrong, just following a path that has been counter to the main character. They have always done what they thought was best. Sims did what he did because he was a good soldier that followed Bernard's orders because he thought Bernard was doing the best for the silo. Camille may have no choice. The algorithm may have told her that if she doesn't obey it, it will kill everyone else, including her son. You think she's going to chance that? I suspect Sims and Camille will have redemption arcs, or at least explaining why they've done what they've done. I have a suspicion that Sims may be working against Camille, actually. I think he's responsible for the note and may have not actually killed Bernard, though the latter is really iffy in my mind. I believe he sent the note so she'd get her memory back and he could get some kind of vengeance for what Juliet did to his family. Also, we did, this is again after episode 1, and we did learn in episode 2 that I guess we're supposed to believe the outsiders, like Patrick Kennedy or Danny Bly, sent the note, or Sandy.
Yeah, I think it's Patrick.
Yeah, but so this was written before that. But what do you think about? What are your thoughts on the rest?
I'm one of the people that said that the algorithm sounds like Daniel Keene, so I'm glad I'm not making it up. I'm glad other people can hear that.
Did you hear Senator Thurman?
I didn't hear Senator Thurman, but it definitely sounds like Daniel Keene to me. Like I've said in the previous shows, I don't know what that means, but it definitely sounds like Daniel. I don't necessarily agree that that Robert Sims, Common's character, is a good soldier. I think he wanted to be the head of IT, or at least the shadow to the head of IT, and then the head of IT in time. And he was doing Bernard's bidding because of that. So I don't think that the Simses are bad people, but I do think they are ambitious people, and I think it is possible to go too far the other way. I don't think they're entirely black hats, but I wouldn't call them good people either. And let's not forget that Robert Sims has killed several people
It's true.
on screen that we know of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with the difference, the reason why I like Camille, I think they're both good characters, and they're both. So Sims is the one from the book. For anyone who doesn't know, Camille is new to the show, and so that might also have me more interested in her because I'm like, she's a wild card. I don't know, like she's the head of IT. Okay, let's see where this goes. So I'm intrigued in that sense, but also the thing that frustrates me with Sims, and this is like not unlike his book character, I'll say, although it's been much more fleshed out in the show, is things like, waving a gun at not only Lucas but his mother. And this whole concept that this Texan guy touches on here too, where it's like, he just wants Juliet to remember so that he can like hold her to account for that time she scared his son. Like, there's more pettiness to Sims, I'll say, and he's much more likely to fly off the handle with anger, which makes him a more worrisome character in my book. And I think why no one, not Bernard, not the algorithm, ever wanted to make him head of IT.
Yeah.
But Camille, I have a lot more respect for her in that regard.
Yeah.
Even though, she's willing to even deceive her husband, as we saw last season, which is like.
And I mean, this is jumping ahead a little bit to episode 2, so we might pick up on this. But I'm not sure Camille has the fortitude that, for better or worse, I don't think Camille has the fortitude that Bernard did. I'm starting to doubt that when the moment arrives, she will do what has to be done. Basically, I can see her having an attack of conscience at some point this season.
Yeah. I mean, that is the question. How is their relationship as a couple going to develop this season? How will that change each of them individually as well?
I would make a bet, not a big bet, just maybe a pound or two, that they are not a couple by the end of the season.
Oh, we'll see. I let love live.
Well, no couple. It doesn't work out well for couples on the show.
We'll see. Okay, and Aaron K says, Aaron K, by the way, host of Radioactive Ramblings and co-host of Cosmere Corner, coming soon, end of this month. He says the modern / past ? Stuff had me way more hooked than I thought it would. Super fun to see Juliet start putting the pieces back together, although I hope we don't spend a long time with Amnesiat. And again, this is after episode 1. Are you feeling, you were also like wary of that, but are you feeling better about that plot line after episode 2?
To be honest, I am enjoying the stuff outside of Juliet and happening around Juliet enough that it doesn't bother me particularly. But I am still just a little bit like, Juliet spent the whole of season 2 wandering around a silo solving puzzles. It seems like she's going to spend a large part of season 3 wandering around a different silo.
I mean,
that's the story. Set of puzzles.
That's the story. It's called Silo.
I suppose it is. Well, not the silos, but the sort of the puzzle solving element to it.
Yeah, I'll say they did. I mean, the show has really amped up certain mystery box elements, but as someone will point out in the feedback for episode 2, it seems that the mystery is lobbed Billings' way right now.
But like I've said before, even though Juliet is the main character, I enjoy the stuff. I don't feel like the entire series is built around Juliet, or I care less about what's happening to Juliet than I do about what's happening to people like Billings.
Okay.
Your
favorite character. So
my favorite character.
Tracks. Yeah. Okay. Soph YB is a Shirleyette truther. And she says, so good to be back in Silo 18 and see all you familiar faces and new ones. I really hope Shirley and Juliet manage to connect properly and have an honest and private conversation before the end of the season. Juliet said, I heard we used to be friends. And Cheryl says something like that, which is interesting. Side eye emoji, heart eye emoji. I thought it could just be a Mike from Stranger Things, not Friends, best friends thing. Stranger Things mild spoiler. Yeah, that was such. Oh, John and I made some fun of that in our Stranger Things podcast. That's a line delivery, and what a tease it was. But anyway, but how would one choose between Shirley and Lucas? They are both so gorgeous and brave and awesome. But I fear Shirley and before Juliet are both so hot-headed the silo would last 5 minutes if they paired up.
I am not having this Knox erasure. Where is Knox in this?
It's true. Sherlock's is a thing. They're going strong, as we've seen. He carried her away when she was waiting for days outside Juliet's hospital. And he's like, you gotta come home.
I will not stand this Knox erasure.
Do you think Shirley and Knox have registered their partnership, or do you think they are too
Oh no, I think they are definitely on the down low.
They're like F authority. We don't care if people notice.
Yeah, no, I don't think they have officially registered.
All right. Rita Reborn says, after sitting on it a while, I don't love the amnesia trope as a rule, and I'm glad it seems they are tying it directly to the world building. I think whatever is in the pills that makes her forget is a diluted version of their quote unquote oil from the modern day plotline that makes Charlotte forget. So like the what the fuck cloud.
Yeah, I am. We will talk. I think we will talk more about that when we do our episode 3 breakdown. But yeah, okay. I am sort of starting to think along similar lines.
Okay. And Jenny responded to that. That's interesting. I was reading it the other way. They are making Charlotte forget what she saw and pretending she has a TBI to cover their deception. But I like your theory better. I want to trust the politicians. Okay, the TCS says, I'm appreciating the changes from the book very much. I agree with Luke that Anna having to repeat Charlotte's information to Senator Thurman is an issue. I'm not sure it's a statement about geriatrics in office, but it did stand out to me. And then Jenny responded, not directly to that, but I'm tying it together here because this part of Jenny's feedback ties directly to this. She said, okay, my thought of the day, what if Senator Thurman is also under the influence of these memory drugs and her daughter is actually pulling some of the strings in her office? There was that one moment in the first episode when the senator couldn't remember Charlotte's name, yes, referring to the same thing, and her daughter told her just after Daniel left. Why show us that moment if there isn't a reason? Thoughts?
I mean, that could very well be true. And the TCS, likewise, I think it is an interesting moment, but I just thought it was a commentary on senators and representatives that have stayed too long in office, basically, because that is a very real issue in the United States at the moment. So I just thought it was a show having a moment to make a little bit of a point.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I guess my book knowledge, if there's something going on with Senator Thurman's memory, I'll just say it would be an addition. That doesn't mean it's not happening, because certainly they've been doing things like that. See Juliet, which is actually a transposed storyline from another part of the novel that they're just not going to do because they can't do multiple timelines at the same time. So it makes sense they put that in Juliet's part of the timeline rather than having like layers of flashbacks. But yeah, so I don't. So if something's happening with Senator Thurman's memory, it's new, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. And the fact that multiple people are noting this moment, maybe there is something significant. It is interesting that there's this Stenson clinic that Pierce Stenson apparently set up for his mother who had Alzheimer's. So one does have to wonder if there's some tie in there. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I will be keeping track of that. Thank you all for flagging that for me. The TCS also said, I find myself wondering, since it seems like there will be so much detail, why the founders didn't plan out where to mine so that they aren't having cave-ins. It would be hard to do that, but I feel like someone would have thought of it And Cincinnati Joe replies, 300 years is a long time. Cave-ins, etc. would change things. And there seems to be few texts directly from the founders other than the pact and secret stuff just for IT. So what do you think about the mines and the mapping of cave-ins?
Yeah, I'm with Cincinnati Joe here. Like, there's only so much the founders could have done. Like, you can't plan for every contingency over 300 years. And also, if you want to put multiple silos in relatively close proximity to each other and not have them interact with each other, then yes, that is just going to lead to strict limits on what you can do as far as tunneling goes. I mean, I think I've spoken about this in season 1 and season 2, and I still think this is true, that at some point in the past, between the Washington, D.C. timeline and the Silo 18 timeline, there was a point at which all of the silos were interconnected with each other. I think those connections have been severed for whatever reason, but I just don't see why you would build them as completely separate standalone entities. I don't think we've been given an explanation for that yet. So until we are, my headcanon is that at some point in the past, you could actually move from silo 17 to 18 to 19.
Okay, I will keep my mouth shut.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I have thoughts on this whole thing about whether or not the mines are or should have been planned, but I don't want to say too much about it. We might be talking about the mines more this week. But I'll just say that it is different, that it seems to be that the entrance to the mines in this case, like they're mining up around the sides of the silo. I talked about this in the main episode breakdown, whereas in the books, it makes it sound more like they're mining underneath. And I presume this probably has to do with some real geology about where exactly iron ore is in the soil. But yeah, good questions. Duve71 says, thanks, Elysia and Luke. A cracking opening pod, a great way to get us back into the world of Silo. Some thoughts after listening. Firstly, a little discussion of the changed opening credits. When I thought about the apple in the opening, I thought about the biblical connection, Adam and Eve, the loss of innocence, of Silozins, and thinking they are unique. Could the apple be a metaphor for the general lack of knowledge or an awakening? It being rotten, perhaps alluding to the pact is starting to be exposed. Think limits on mine shafts, obviously not to meet other silo mines. The underlying rot at the heart of why the silos exist. And I'll say, so we did already talk about that maybe it actually was Peach, but I think this is interesting to discuss. And I'll say Lestu also said something similar, but he said it in a book reader way. So Abby and I will talk about that more in the spoiler podcast. But it touched on the similar themes about this. But yeah, I still think the theme is interesting, even if it is a Peach. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think there is possibly something to that. After watching the first 2 episodes, I think it's also more indicative of just like the general wear and tear of the silo that we're being sort of exposed to, and particularly after the bomb going off at the end of season 2, I think there are some not only with the stairs, but I think there are wider sort of structural and organizational issues with the silo as well. So I think it's also a metaphor for the physical state of the silo as well.
Yeah. Okay. Duve also said, I too picked up on that strangeness of the death of Bernard. Is Sims a reliable narrator in that scene, relaying how he took care of Bernard to Camille? Obviously, know his fate from the books. Bernard dies at the end of the first book. We're past that point, I can say that. I always thought Camille seemed to be the strategic player, with Sims being the more action-oriented of the two in their power couple dynamic. I'm with Luke on the almost messianic vibe of the meet and greet with Juliet, reinforced by relics. Never a good thing, is it? She's the savior of the silo. The jibe on engineers is specific to Daniel's service. Okay. We'll pause here and come back to it. Thoughts on these first two things? No spoilers.
Yeah, I'm going to say that. Really hard to talk about that without spoilers. All I will say is that Robert Sims has never been reliable about anything in his life. Like, if Sims tells you something, if at least two other people don't tell you the same, I'm not believing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. I'll say Bernard was also a liar, liar, pants on fire. Okay, and the other thing Duve says is the jibe on engineers is specific to Daniel's service. The Army Corps of Engineers is different to combat engineering units in the U.S. Army. The Corps of Engineering does a lot of civilian infrastructure projects, such as the levees in New Orleans, and is more a federal agency. It's 97% staffed by civilians, with military support. Sappers, in quotes, which is what I was during my service, are frontline, regularly first in last out type troops, breaching minefields, building bridges, that kind of thing. Yeah, so Duve has a background in the UK military.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. Yeah, the Army Corps of Engineers is, despite the name, is a largely civilian agency, and one that the Trump administration, in its infinite wisdom, is messing with on a truly gargantuan scale. But we'll leave that. We'll leave that for another day. But yeah,
Save New Orleans.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, very, very good point. Thank you, Dude, for pointing that out. When it comes to the military stuff, I definitely rely on you guys for that. Motor Riders D said, did anyone else notice this poster in the Metro in episode 1? Looks like a game or a movie, but not one I know exists. So is this an in-world ad? And it looks like it's for something called Eternal 4. And I don't know of any specific book connection. I always find it interesting because I mean, I suppose they put up, they'll make up things to put in the background just so it looks, because it would look weird if there were no posters, but maybe they don't want to advertise some real world thing. But sometimes they are connected to something on purpose. So I don't know. We should watch out if there's like some Eternal 4 thing, game or something, or that comes back.
Yeah.
I think I would be particularly interested in it if it were some sort of game. Like, I guess I'm getting like Ready Player One thoughts, even though I'm not saying that's what this is. But we did have the VR set, which was new. Because again, novel written more than a decade ago. So last season we saw there was a VR set in the silo too, in the vault.
Yes, that's true. We did.
Yeah, that was the dinner and a show before Judge Meadows had to go.
Before the poison mushrooms kill you.
Yeah. And yeah, Motor Riders also said doing a rewatch and noticing Juliet gets 2 pills of vitamins at the beginning of episode 1, and then what looks like 6 after the AI tells Camille to double the dosage.
Yeah, so she actually tripled it.
I also noticed when Juliet spat into the sink, I guess that was in episode 2, it looked like she only spat 1 pill out. So I am confused about Juliet's dosages. I don't know that we should necessarily look at that too closely, but
okay.
And he says that chowder that she gets at the end looks really good. I want soup like that. It's like creamy salmon, potato, and other seafood soup with dill. Of course, hold the huge metal pickle, please.
Yeah, it reminds me very much of a Scottish soup called a Cullen skink, which is salmon, haddock, potatoes, cream, milk, and butter, I think, and thyme, if I'm not mistaken. But the restaurant down the road from me, the Waterfront Inn, does a very, very good Cullen skink, and you can get into like heated arguments with a Scottish person about whether the correct way to make it is thick and lumpy or smooth. So yeah, that fish chowder reminded me very much of a Cullen skink.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. That wraps up the episode 1 feedback. So let's take another quick pause here. And when we come back, we'll jump into episode 2, starting with a voicemail from Professor of Psychology, Nicole from Nevermind the Music. Be right back. All right. Nicole sent in a voicemail weighing in on her thoughts about the show in general, but also especially about these conversations that we've saw, and particularly episode 2 about how memory works. And this is what she has to say.
Hey, Lorehounds, it's Nicole here, your neighborhood psychology professor from Never Mind the Music. I'm also watching Silo, very into it. Love a dystopian end of days narrative. But this season's episode 2 talks so much about memory, I had to share my thoughts because I was really impressed with how spot on they were around like what we understand about memory. Specifically, the idea of implanting false memories was really interesting to me. I know that that's not entirely what they're talking about, but the sense that you can and we can manipulate people's memories is very well researched and very proven to be true. If any listeners are really into reading white papers about psychology, I direct you to Elizabeth Loftus's research about implanting false memories. She's got some great white papers, but also a pretty cool TED Talk too. And all the stuff they're talking about in Silo, that they can shift people's memories and block them out either with psychopharmacology, like with pills or drugs, is definitely true. Trauma can also change the things that we remember. And the best time to change someone's memory is around things that are really like emotionally heightened, specifically around trauma. So there's a lot to unpack here. And again, I was just really impressed at how thoughtful they were with this whole conversation, even though it was, yes, 1,000,000% dystopian and creepy. This idea that the body is going to remember, even if you can't isolate an episodic memory or like a narrative memory, your nervous system is going to react to stimulus that like would provoke that memory. And we're seeing that in our main character in Silo. We're seeing that when she holds the helmet, memories like come flooding back to her. It's a body memory. So other stuff that kind of bubbled up for me while watching this was just the ethical awfulness of manipulating memories. The fact that this doctor has done his preliminary research on prisoners or people with low socioeconomic status. That is a very real thing in our medical history. They are a captive body of test subjects to experiment on. So that was creepy. And he came off as really kind, but he seems creepy, man. He seems pretty creepy. Also, some creepy stuff's gonna be happening with the water in the silo. You know, the prompt was to enrich the water with D+ protein, I think. You'll correct me if I'm wrong, but dude, what was that plus about? Like, why couldn't they, if they're giving her the meds, just put meds in everyone's water? They have complete control. So I'm eager to see where this all goes. They've definitely sparked me. I mean, I've been a Silo fan for a long time, even though I didn't read the books, and I probably won't, but I love where their show is going. I think that this season has taken a really, really interesting turn, and I can't wait to see what happens next. But more so, I can't wait to hear what you say about what happens next. So I'll be listening. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to send you guys my thoughts. If you have any other questions, you can hit me up on Discord or check out my podcast, Never Mind the Music, where me and my buddy Mark do deep dives on pop culture songs that talk about music theory and psychology in surprisingly interesting ways. So I hope you guys have a great day. I hope to talk to you soon. Thanks.
I'll say there is a Never Mind the Music teaser in this same feed, if you're in the public feed particularly. But I do recommend checking out their latest episodes. You go to the lorehounds.com and you will find that feed as well. But yeah, so as far as what she had to say about memory, vindication. I mean, I knew this to be true, but I'm glad to have a professor of psychology saying it. Luke, what do you think?
That's really interesting. And Nicole, you're always welcome to come back on any of the feedback shows we're going to be recording this season, because I'd love to hear what you think a little bit further down the line. But yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I always have said about this. So I'll say that I do know, based on things that Hugh Howey's written about writing Silo, that he based this part of the story on an article that he read at the time, like before he wrote Shift, about some side effects of a drug called propranolol, which is used for various things, anxiety, other things as well. But they noticed that it blocked, in some ways, the formation of traumatic memories, and that's what inspired this whole part of the story. Although it's never called that in the books, and it doesn't exactly work the same way. But that's where the inspiration came from. Very grounded. And I always have the feeling, not just because of that, but also just because of the way the pact and the order are written. And in the books, there's even some very direct references to real famous psychology studies in our world. I always think, yeah, that Hugh Howey is well read on the subject, it seems. He does have a good understanding of it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, thank you again, Nicole, and please share your thoughts more. We want to hear, especially, as I said, this is going to be a psychology heavy season, so definitely want more insights. Marcus S says, I enjoyed how they intercut the DC and Silo 18 stories in a way that the DC story explained how the memory drugs work, while the Silo 18 story showed it being applied to a character, Juliet, whom we know so well. Yeah, me too. That's why I really like the pairing of those stories.
Yeah.
Why Jans said, love your last episode with Luke. It's always a huge pleasure, but as a Slavic person, I'm genuinely confused about the victor's last name pronunciation. And I'll say there's an extra layer of confusion in here that we sort out in this, but just to read through what they originally wrote, not only in your podcast, but also in the show. It's really simple name, Chernovich. CZ, like CZ in Czech Republic, comes from the color black in all the Slavic languages. Cherny, yeah, it's black. But the way it was pronounced in the show, it's so confusing. No wonder you also had a difficult time with it. And I'll say, so I looked it up, the spelling again, and what the spelling that they used in the show is Crnkovich. So Crnkovich. And so Wayan said that they got that name spelling, the Chernovich, from this website that I shared on the Discord called howdidwelosethisworld.com. And if you go there, you can explore two types of computer setups you can switch between. One that looks more like our real world and has information about that DC part of the plot line, and one that looks like the Silo computers and has information about that part of the plot line. And so this is where they got that with the Chernovich last name with the CZ. And it's interesting, yeah, that but it is Crnkovich, I think, right? Please correct me if I'm wrong again. But it is interesting that is that there's that discrepancy, because Crnkovich is what it is in the credits on IMDb, what they're saying in the show. But there's another discrepancy. The Colin Hanks character who's showing up later in the season, we saw him called Pierce in some places and Pear in some other places, which I was like, is that a nickname? But now I'm like, no, I don't know, at some point they changed the names or something.
I think they may just be getting sloppy with the spelling of the names.
Oh, the marketing people? I don't know. Maybe. But I don't know that. I don't think that that's it. It's too much of a change. But anyway, so Wayans continues, I'm not the biggest expert about the actual origin of that name as the Crnkovich. Chernovich looks Czech to me. Chernovich looks Czech to me. Crnkovich looks Serbian/Croatian to me. And if it is, then it's supposed to be with a C with one of those little V-shaped accents on top, which would be, again, Chernovich. But you were right about and I said something, I replied about, could it be something like the Ellis Island effect, where a name goes through Ellis Island and then the spelling and pronunciation changes.
Yep.
Thoughts on any of the above?
No, I don't. Thanks, Jans, for getting in touch with that and for giving us the background. Do you think there's anything we can read into the fact that its transliteration into English is black, or should be black?
I don't know. That's a good question. And I do wonder if there's any connection to the fact this is someone who seems to be from the former Yugoslavia.
Yeah, that is a very good point. I hadn't considered that, but yes, because given where we think we are in the timeline, it's probably not too far into the future.
Yeah. I have a feeling that I know what the book timeline is I have a feeling that they've changed it slightly for the show. So we'll see. Jenny says, great episode. I'm so worried about Juliet. She's in danger. Yikes. The nurse was so creepy sneaking around her room like that. Interesting that we've seen that matchbox twice now. So what do you think? Should we be paying attention to the matchbox in Juliet's apartment?
Yeah, that is an interesting point. Yeah, we probably should. Because actually thinking about it, storage is probably at a premium in the silo. And so, yeah, you are going to use like matchboxes and stuff. I mean, there are matches in it. But yeah, you are going to use stuff like that to smuggle messages as well. So, yeah, possibly.
So you're thinking some spy crafting coming?
Yeah, possibly.
How much lemon juice did they have? To write invisible messages. Anyway, Duve71 says, another great podcast. So thank you. I'm with Luke. I think they are portraying Daniel as a bit of a naive. Think Mr. Smith goes to Washington type. First term congressman. But this feels perhaps like a poor directing choice more than anything, as Daniel in these moments is a bit too disconnected from the reality of what is being done to his sister, far too trusting and accepting. Nice. Okay, we'll come back to the rest of what he said. And I am going to push back on poor directing choice. I think it's just a character thing. But I am going to add to that what Cincinnati Joe says, since it's similar. Just watched, good episode, but some odd things. I don't understand how the doctor said they wiped Charlotte's memories without giving much of a reason why. I kept expecting Daniel to push back on how could they make such a decision for no reason other than her mission was traumatic. And yeah, that's, again, going to just jump in here real quick. What they're telling Donald is not just that her mission is traumatic.
Daniel.
Just whatever. See, they gave me the drugs. No. It's not just that her mission was traumatic. It's that she was in a massive jet crash. So presumably that means, and so they're saying it's a traumatic brain injury from that massive jet crash. Not saying that we believe that, but that is what they're telling Daniel. So just putting that out there, if that helps. But Cincinnati Joe continues, it would be more believable to show how the doctor claim is a bad brain injury, which he does. That is what they claim. And they're actually trying to get her memories back, similar to what they were telling Juliet in the silo. And yeah, that is like as far as getting her.
No, I think what's
well, wait, let me just finish, please. Since they're telling Daniel the truth about suppressing her memories, you think they wouldn't want him spending much time with her yet, not until they are ready to rebuild. He's much more likely to trigger her memories than a reporter that Charlotte only recently met. And I'll say that that I think Victor really does want her to get back her Daniel-related memories. But yeah, not whatever she was talking to the reporter about. But go ahead, Liv.
Okay, I think what Cincinnati Joe is saying is, why does Victor own up to the fact that he's deliberately suppressing her memory? Why not just tell Daniel that the memory loss is a direct result of the TBI?
Because Victor's not a liar.
But
not completely.
Not completely. But yeah, I think like if there is nefarious stuff going on, and there probably is, why not just say that?
Because Victor's a better person than Camille, or / the algorithm, perhaps?
Possibly, but this is also a guy that's experimented on people without their consent. So
but as Nicole just pointed out, that is extremely common in the history of.
But it's not that common.
Medicine.
It's not that common in the present day.
It's not uncommon in the present day, I'll say.
Okay. But I do like the fact that other people picked up on this. Because, yeah, I mean, I think generally speaking, the quality of the writing on Silo was top notch. But I do think that scene with Daniel.
Yeah. I'm going to stop you here. I'm going to stop you here. There's been a lot of arguing on here, and I am getting a little annoyed with people blaming the writing or directing when you just haven't gotten to know the characters yet. And so rather than saying scapegoating and saying bad writing, bad directing, think about it. Yes, but think about it in terms of why would that exist for these characters in these situations, things like that. Because I'm going to tell you, it's not a problem with the writing. It is on purpose. It is characterizing these characters.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, I did notice because there were a couple of other people in the Discord that made the same point. I think Sub-Zero was one that I noticed because I've been on the Discord, or I've tried to be on the Discord.
Yeah, I saw you replied to things.
Yeah, so I think Sub-Zero made the point. But yeah, there is just something a little bit off about Daniel's reaction to the entire situation, put it that way.
Well, I mean, I think what you said, what did you call him? Guileless?
Yes.
I think that nails it on the head more than anything else.
But again, not to flog a dead horse, but if somebody told you that they have deliberately suppressed your only family's memory of you and anything else, I don't care how guileless you are, your natural reaction to that is going to be anger.
If somebody told you they deliberately I'm going to use the same exact example, deliberately put your brother in a coma because he has a traumatic brain injury,
yes,
and they have to let it heal.
Yeah, but that would be an explanation as to why. Like,
that is the explanation as to why here, because she has a traumatic brain injury and they're letting her heal. That's exactly what he said.
But surely messing with somebody's memory is only going to make a TPI worse.
Why? How so?
Well, you're taking a brain that's already been injured and you're messing with it even more.
I mean, the idea is that it takes the pressure off the brain. That's the idea they're selling. And I'm not saying there's nothing nefarious going on. I'm just saying that it's completely within Daniel's character to accept a medical explanation after his sister has gone through a physically traumatic event that he's told has given her a TBI. And it's not like he was like, oh, okay, and shrugged and walked away. They went out in the garden and had a whole conversation where he asked a lot of questions about it, which, he's channeling his inner Helen for a second.
Okay, fair enough, but I'm still not really sold that was yeah. I think we're just going to have to agree to disagree here.
All right, Nicole, weigh in, because nobody believes me unless you say it. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just, yes, at the end of the day, we just have to, like, I need you guys to channel more Daniel. And just, I mean, I guess my main thing is like, don't question these things, but just don't immediately blame directing and writing, because there are very good reasons that they're creating very consistent characters. We saw throughout the episode, every single time that Daniel was presented with information, he'd be like, oh, okay, until someone else was like, do you want to interrogate that a little more? And he'd be like, oh. And I don't think that doesn't mean he's dumb. I just said he tries hard and he trusts hard, and that's the kind of person he is.
No, I don't think he's dumb. It didn't feel like a natural reaction to the situation for me, put it that way.
I don't know. I just, what a nightmare for doctors if people got angry every time the doctors treated their loved ones after a severe accident. And I'm, again, not saying it's not nefarious, just saying that I think, thankfully, it's not the norm to fly off the handle because the doctor's done something to help.
but no, I'm sorry. No, what Victor is saying is, I have gone and deliberately messed with your sister's memory without properly explaining why that helps the TBI.
Because it's a side effect of the medication. It's a side effect of in real life. It's a real side effect of propranolol.
No, that's not what he says.
But it is what he said. He might not have said side effect, but it is like that is absolutely. He said, "It's my fault. She doesn't remember. When it gets better, we will start working the memories back in." Now, of course, we have very good reason, based especially on the Juliet storyline, to think there's something more sinister going on. But it's exactly the same as putting someone into a coma to allow their brain to heal. It's not like you're not like putting them in a coma because you want them to be in a coma. It's the side effect of how you're treating them in order to give them room to heal.
Maybe, but I just think we read that scene in fundamentally different ways.
Yeah, we'll see if you feel the same.
Yeah.
Later, but I think it's also because, like, you you didn't want to believe me that memory worked the way that Nicole says that it does, which it does work that way. So I think it's maybe just coming from different perspectives on just how brain trauma is handled, basically.
Okay.
Okay, and Duve71 also said, nice deep cut on Babylon 5. Luke, classic sci-fi series, a real banger, he says to me. Replacing the comm stuff on the planes, very Battlestar Galactica coded, non-networked anti-AI intrusion.
Yeah, no, that is a very good pickup, Duve. And I have to say, actually, Babylon 5 is now fiended because of a whole rights dispute. That is very long and complicated, and I don't have all the details. It's now fiendishly hard to find. Because as far as I know, at least in the UK, it isn't streaming anywhere at the moment. Yeah.
I actually don't know here. Yeah. Peter OH says, perhaps I'm being a bit harsh and perhaps I missed some detail, but clearly Juliet has amnesia. She's not ignoring Shirley, but Shirley's immediate go-to is that Juliet must be doing it on purpose. Instead of wanting to help her friend with amnesia, she's going to be angry at her and refuse to help when she asked. It's a bit childish. And I don't like Shirley because of how blasé she is about locking up Lucas in a cell. And the TCS responded, I don't like the way Shirley is reacting to Jules, even as Jules is trying to learn, but it is well within her character. Same with Walker, and same with Juliet, too, with the fangirl. I don't have to like it, but they are all in character. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think they are all in character. And yeah, I think
like Daniel. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, you're not gonna let that go, are you? Yeah, no, I think they are all very much in character, and I think Shirley, rather like Juliet, has difficulty verbalizing her emotions. But yeah,
maybe that's why they understand each other so well.
I think that's probably why they are such good friends, maybe more than friends. Who knows? Yeah. I'm not sure it is the same with Walker, by the way. I think. Oh, sorry. Did you read that part?
Yeah, Walker.
Remember.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. I don't think it is the same with Walker. I think Walker is trying to be genuinely helpful, and I also think she's trying to keep Juliet grounded, which nobody else in the silo is doing.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess she's got like a gruff nature too. It seems to go with the mechanical culture, I suppose. Yeah.
2 coffees hold the flattery is one of my favorite lines. Along with, if our parents were alive right now, they'd be desperately scratching at their coffins trying to get out.
All right. We got an email from Michael B, who says, here are a few questions and reactions up to and including season 3, episode 2. My big question is if there was actually a dirty bomb in Washington, D.C. The retaliation or counterstrike would be almost immediate. But so far, it seems like days or weeks or even longer have passed since there was any kind of counterstrike. Seems weird. Thoughts on that one?
Yeah, that is a very good point, Michael. And one I hadn't considered. Yeah, the retaliation would be, you would think almost immediate. You would have to do some degree of investigation to find out where the nuclear material had come from. I guess because Iran is not the only country that might do that. North Korea, for example, there are any number of scenarios where North Korea uses a nuclear weapon by sticking it on a shipping container into the port of San Francisco or something like that. So yeah, there would need to be a bit of investigation. But yes, I think you're right to say that they wouldn't have held off for as long as they appear to have held off. I've already said this in previous episodes. I don't think there was a dirty bomb. I think what they are doing is looking for people that have been exposed to the. I'm sorry, I can't call it anything else now. The what the fuck clouds.
We'll put it on a t-shirt.
Yeah, put it on a t-shirt. So yeah, no, I don't think there was a dirty bomb strike, but that's a very good point about why there probably wasn't.
Okay.
A dirty bomb.
And Michael's next point is, if you remember when Jules is outside and the screen shows green and blue sky, and at some point the screen blips and it switches over to the barren outside world, that blip is what happens when Charlotte touches the black goo. I'm really intrigued by this black goo. And I didn't remember. I guess there was a glitch. Did we see a glitch?
Yeah, no, I'm going to have to go back and rewatch that.
That's a very interesting observation, Michael. Thank you. My biggest intrigue at this point is wondering how the silos all began. We saw in one of the trailers that the people were happily and willingly going into the silos like they were built as a new frontier. My tinfoil hat theory is the silos are not as old as they say they are. How does Solo have so much food always at the ready, like soup and ice cream and everything else? It's almost like somebody in the outside world keeps restocking his pantry with fresh stuff. And then nice compliments, TV show viewer only, have not read the books. So thoughts on the other 2 points?
Yeah, no, because I was going to say, for Silo 18, there's the farms and stuff. But like, how does
Solo have ice cream?
How does Solo have ice cream? Because even if you assume that all the previous heads of IT didn't touch any of that stuff, and therefore it's from the time the Silo 17 was originally occupied, that's going to be like 350-year-old stew. And I don't care how well pre-packed it is, that is going to be pretty gnarly at that point. So, yeah, really good point, Michael. Ooh.
I'll say that this is one that when that came up, specifically the ice cream, which seems particularly difficult to conserve, Abby and I had our own tinfoil hat theories going on in the book club about it.
Ooh, yeah, no. Oh, that's got me thinking in all sorts of directions now. Because the thing that runs counter to that, though, is what we've heard from Harwood, the head of mines, about 300 years of tunneling and doubling back.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm gonna need to go away and stew on that for a bit. No pun intended.
But there is soup in the books. There's soup in the books. But
there's soup, yeah.
And there's soup that's been left out in the silo and gone bad. And that's what Juliet washes herself with. We talked about that at the beginning of season 2.
In the first episode.
But then there's also soup in the vault that, most of which is still edible.
Yeah. But like I say, even if that had been put there at the time the silo was originally occupied 350 odd years ago, and hadn't been touched since, it's still not, I don't care how well preserved it is, it's not going to be edible.
Well, since you brought up Harwood, that translates nicely into Nobody Cares 2000.
It's almost like I was reading the show notes.
I have a feeling this name must refer to I Love You 2000 from Iron Man movie. Nobody Cares 2000. Anyway, they said Ed Harwood is my favorite new character so far. Looks like a fun addition to the cast. He's giving off angry old man who knows things vibes, but will be key in Jules figuring out what's happening / a solution. I am also excited to learn more about his daughter. It's the new Billings mystery to solve.
Yeah, I want to know what's going on with the possible corruption in the mines. Let's not.
It wasn't in the mines though, because his daughter was.
Oh yes, beg
in
pardon.
supply.
His daughter Glenda was in supply. She's called Glenda, isn't she?
Glenda, yeah.
Yeah, she's in supply. So yeah, sorry, no corruption in the. Although I think that's.
Not saying that there isn't, but what we heard so far is that things are disappearing from critical supply. Yeah.
I mean, I sort of read that as things are going from supply to the mines, and Ed Harwood's got his own like little black market thing going on. But yeah. That's just my headcanon. So
you think he's just selling it to miners then? Because no one's supposed to go in the mines except the miners, right? I mean, no one would want to, right?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Yeah, but the miners are like the miners seem to be on the bottom of the totem pole in the silo, like literally and metaphorically. So if there's anybody, and also it's a really horrible job. So if there's anybody that's going to benefit from a bit more food, some soap, whatever you can get from supply, it would be the miners. The only question is then how would they pay for it?
So you're saying like maybe it's a Robin Hood thing?
No, I don't think it's a Robin Hood thing. I think it's desperate people will pay a lot for things that make their lives slightly less miserable.
But how would the miners?
How would the miners pay for it? But,
because we know that there are obviously black markets within the silo. We know that Regina, for example, George's ex, who we saw in episode 1, is involved in that. So that's just out. And then that has nothing to do with the miners, obviously. That's just people who want relics, basically, is her trade.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We shall see. And 200 Brews 2009 says, since the plot in the silo is slowly building steam, everyone in the DC time is pretty compelling. They're all essentially new characters, not to mention politicians and reporters are known to be morally ambiguous. I feel the show is trying to convey that Helen is going to be a helpful character. Her adamantly reinforcing that her meeting with her Donald was not a date, especially when she could play that up to get closer to Daniel, really shows that, to me at least. What do you think?
You did it again. You said Donald.
I said one day, by the end of the season, perhaps. But the thing is also, as I'm doing this, I'm going back through the book and stuff just to, compare things and for our book club and stuff. And so I'm still reading Donald at the same time too. So that's getting reinforced in my brain too. But anyway, thoughts on Helen?
Yeah, I think, like I said at the end of the episode 2 show, I think they're almost certainly going to team up Woodward and Bernstein style to try and solve this mystery.
I'll say, piggybacking on what 200 Brews said here about, being like, no, Daniel, it's not a date, and just being honest and upfront about it in that way. I'll also shout out that when she went to go see Charlotte, she did immediately, as soon as she got her alone in the garden, she's like, listen, I'm going to tell you, I'm a reporter, but we've met before, so she was, again, she could have played that hand more deceptively. And she was just like, let me be as honest as I can.
Yeah. And she's a reporter because she wears a trench coat.
So you keep saying. I just pay attention.
The wardrobe department went, how can we visually signify she's a reporter? Trench
Helen
coat.
Drew Silo. I don't remember the trench coat at all. I don't know why. I don't know. Is this a trench coat? It's just like a normal coat. This is not a trench coat. And she's got like 3/4 sleeves. It's just got like a collar. I don't know. I wouldn't classify as a trench coat. People weigh in.
Okay.
I guess it's longer. It's like down to her mid calf. It looks like.
Yeah. All right.
It's a teal color, dark teal color.
I'm not very good with these things, but yeah. All right. I am wearing some kind of long coat.
Okay. And then 200 Brews says, I'm still holding out hope Orla is alive. It's rare a new character introduced in the later part of a show's run can make such a strong impact, let alone so quickly. And I'll say, I think they did a great job in, like like I said in the episode 1 breakdown, I had that sinking feeling as soon as she said, I'll tell you when I get back. No.
That's like, let's split up.
But it is remarkable that that I cared, that 200 Brews cared. I don't know. Did you care about Orla after this one episode?
Yeah, I did. But I mean, admittedly, I think a lot of that was because I wanted to find out what was going on in supply. But yeah,
I think she's likable too, you know? She just,
Yeah.
she seems spunky but kind.
Yeah, exactly.
As for Reed Birney, 200 Brews says, I finally figured out I recognized him from an episode of the new Star Trek Strange New Worlds show. The kicker, he's an alien who lives on a planet where long-term memory is lost by most of its inhabitants.
Ah,
So Reed Birney, again, for anyone who doesn't know, is the thus unnamed character who we've seen in the first episode when he seemed to be perhaps following Charlotte on the metro, and in the second episode watching Charlotte have a bit of a panic attack when she was getting memories back talking to Helen. So definitely watch out for him. And they say it's really too soon to know who or if anyone has malevolent motives, but I've got a feeling that Charlotte is going to be used as a leverage to get Daniel to do something Scylla related that he wouldn't normally do. From what we've seen so far, I get the impression Anna is manipulating Daniel, at least laying the groundwork for it. What do you think of that?
yeah, I think that's probably right. But I can't quite make my mind up with that, whether she's trying to manipulate him or laying the groundwork for it, or whether it's just because she's in politics, that's how she sort of naturally comes to interact with people. Because yeah, like if you spend any time around people from that world, you do sometimes get the impression like, what are you asking me? What do you want? And it's like they actually don't want anything. That's just the way they're used to talking to people.
Mm-hmm. She has been extraordinarily helpful to Daniel about his sister so far.
This is the thing. We assume that's quid pro quo, but she could just be being nice.
But is it? I mean, what does she get out of it? Is the question, or does she just do it to be nice, or does she do it because she's like she saw Daniel and was like, "Hey, let's hang out." But and the other thing that makes me a little, I'm like, what's this about? It was the whole thing like, oh, I really feel like I need to pay my respects to veterans all of a sudden, starting with your sister.
Yeah, that was dodgiest. But yeah, who knows? Maybe Anna and Daniel are going to be the exception to the rule that no couples end up well in the show. And then we're all going to feel very, very cynical.
I mean, I'm not the one saying that no couples will end up together. I'm predicting, in the spoiler cast, I'm predicting a better outcome. Well, we've already had better outcomes for some couples because I already said some of these characters died. So
fair enough.
But I'm thinking that there might be other characters. We'll see. We'll see who makes it out of this season and the next. 200 Brews says, interesting, you're a Victor fan. So far, I wouldn't say he's being portrayed in the best light. Could be personal bias, but someone who's willing to casually wipe out and manipulate someone's memory seems wrong. We're supposed to work through our trauma, grow from it. Even his own backstory in dealing with trauma seems that it diminishes his wife's memory if he can have the bad parts excised. And I'll say, that just one thing to know about me is just because I'm interested in a character doesn't necessarily mean I think that they are the glowing paragon of morality. You should see my my Armand love on Interview with the Vampire. But I think that this goes back to what we were talking about in the episode 1 psychology discussion about just because I think people do the wrong things for the right reasons. And I agree. As I was talking about the episode 2 breakdown, I think that we need to remember our mistakes to learn from them. And I think that Hugh Howey thinks that too. But that doesn't mean that every character in his story makes that choice, because I think also he wants to illustrate some points. So basically to say that I think just because Victor is doing questionable things doesn't mean he's a bad person per se. I guess it just depends what your definition of a bad person is. It doesn't mean his intentions are bad. I'll say that. Yeah. But it's like Bernard. He's a villain, but I think his intentions were in large part to save the silo.
I don't suppose it will ever happen, but it would be really interesting to put Victor and Bernard in a room together. Yeah.
What kind of conversation? Well,
what kind of conversation would they have?
To be honest, I think I would rather see Victor talk to Judge Meadows or someone who has a bit more curiosity.
Or Lucas,
Or Lucas, yeah. Okay, and 200 Brew says, I'm probably most curious who that older man from the subway and clinic is. So again, that's Reed Birney. He has a real smoking man from the X-Files kind of vibe.
Yeah, he does. He really does have smoking man vibe. No, it's not smoking. It's Cancer Man, I think. Is what he's referred to in the X-Files.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the silo, Orla seems like an interesting character, but it seems tragedy has already befallen her. Maybe she'll live.
Maybe.
I don't know about you, but I'm finding the DC stuff more compelling and entertaining than what's going on in the silo right now. And that's not a knock against what's going on in the silo.
I think it's just because the DC stuff were at the beginning of the story, whereas the silo were in the middle of it.
Yeah. Well, I think... Yeah, I like this is a lot of people say that by the end of the book, the second book Shift is their favorite. And that's the DC stuff. And I think it's just because it's like, you see this whole society unfold and you get attached to the characters and you want to understand what's going on. And, when you start this DC story, you're like, oh, this is where the answers come.
Yeah, this is a bit of a left turn.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just that this is going to tell you how this all happened. And that makes it a very compelling story. Yeah, again, new characters. We're still sussing out who they are and their motivations and everything. So, all right. And we have one more piece of feedback, probably the most important, from Becky J.
I'm going to say it's not really feedback. It's more of a plea, really.
She says, I'm so glad we're finally talking about Lucas, but where is Lucas? Crying emoji. So, I think you've said it all, Becky. Final thoughts overall on the first 2 episodes?
Yeah, I think this season is building really nicely. I think I've said before, I'm really interested to see what is going on with the family Billings and the family Sims. Really interested to see what's going on in Washington, D.C. I think we've clearly got a crime-fighting, reporter / politician super, I was going to say couple, but pair, sort of, lining up there, because it wasn't a date. Remember, it was not a date. So yeah, really interested to see where it's going.
Yeah, I'm very eager to. We've got, as we've said, the DC storyline is more what book readers know and expected this season, and the silo stuff is largely new. But I do see they're taking concepts because like the Shift book. It does this flashback to DC, but it also does flashbacks to the past of the silos 17 and 18. And so what they've done instead is they've worked the backstories of those into last season. And then this season, we're getting some of those story arcs, like this whole reset thing, that they're working those concepts into the modern day because they don't want to do all these layers of flashbacks. And that makes sense to me.
I do hope we see a bit of Silo 17 before too much longer, because I am starting to get a bit worried about Solo and the kids.
Yeah. I suppose we have to wait for Juliet to remember them, and she's just gonna like wake up in the middle of the night one night and be like,
"Wait, there's another Silo."
Right. There was people over there. I said I would come back for them.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll see what happens in episode 3. Luke and I will be back on Friday, of course, with our coverage. Editor Elysia here, clarifying that by Friday, I mean at least Saturday. Sorry about that. I just have to prioritize some rent-earning work deadlines. I should be back on track by next week to get it out when the embargo drops. Thanks for your understanding. In the meantime, I hope you're enjoying this episode. Let's get back to it. And then we'll do another mailbag again in probably a few weeks. So we want to hear your thoughts and theories. You can send them to woolshiftustpodcast@gmail.com, which you will find linked in the show notes. And again, I'll be the only one reading that inbox, so book spoilers are okay, but then those elements will be discussed on the book club episodes. You can also join the Discord. You'll find a link in the show notes. There's separate spoiler chats per episode, so you can theorize in there. And there's also a separate chat for book discussions as well. Now, this book club that I have teased, you'll find options for that. Basically, this is the Supercast or Patreon feed. It's if you do the Silazin Supercast, it's the same as the Patreon feed, and it's the weekly spoiler casts where Abby and I, another book reader, take a dive into one of the concepts explored in an episode. This week it was about Victor, of course, because he's been introduced. But also you'll find episodes from example, Luke and I going deep on we do a very Dickens Christmas around here. Okay.
Yeah.
But also my deep dives into 19th century monster literature, because that's a thing that I'm into. So you'll find all of that stuff linked in the show notes, various options. If you just want the extra Silo episodes, there is a season pass option. So explore the show notes if you're interested in that. If you're not interested in that, that's fine. We're just really glad to have you here hanging out with us. Feel free. It would be a huge help if you share this podcast with anyone else who's into Silo, who might like a little more insight into everything and discussion around what's going on. Luke, where can they find you?
So they can find me at Luke Middup on Blue Sky, and my podcast, It Could Be Said, which I do with a couple of friends from university, Will Cooley and Simon Alvey. We talk about all things British politics, but we also talk sport, culture, and whatever else takes our fancy. Our last episode was looking ahead to Andy Burnham becoming Prime Minister and doing a sort of final overview of Keir Starmer's 2 years as Prime Minister. That was out last week. We generally record about once a month at the moment because
life.
Because basically life. So yeah, don't expect us to put out episodes every week like we do on here.
Yeah, and if you can also find, you can find Luke and I together also on the Lorehounds feed. We did, for instance, Daredevil and Punisher coverage, but you'll find on the Lorehounds feed right now, John and I are wrapping up our weekly The Vampire Lestat coverage, the show that I keep bringing up over here because I'm obsessed, making crossover memes between them, between that and Silo. And also there's weekly coverage of House of the Dragon, which is being run by David and Jean. So they're doing weekly feedback episodes because it's obviously big discussion show.
Big discussion.
You'll also find at the lorehounds.com a link in the show notes. You'll find the other affiliates like Nevermind the Music, Nicole's podcast you heard from earlier. There's a new Dungeons and Do-Rags member of the network. They're also covering House of the Dragon. You can find my own The Star Wars Canon Timeline podcast and others. And stay tuned for Cosmere Corner coming end of the month, hosted by John and the Radioactive Rambling Guys. Any final thoughts, Luke?
No, I'm just really looking forward to episode 3 now.
All right. Final word is sometimes Daniel just be like that, yo.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.